Maine's cold, wet air doesn't smell like glory. It smells like the Atlantic, ice cold and relentless. Like rain-soaked docks, their boards blackened with age. Like fish scales and old hay rustling at night, as if the earth itself can't fall asleep. It's here, at the far edge of the map, that a paradox is born. The world's most popular cat in 2025 isn't the product of some grand breeding program. It isn't a trend engineered for a fickle market, not showroom design. It wasn't invented in a lab, not sketched on paper, not assembled to a standard like a kit. It was made by the climate, the brutal, unforgiving climate of North America. This is the story of how nature, through trial and error, built the perfect biological machine, and how humans, falling in love with it, nearly broke it with its own success. The rule here is simple, and it's written in the blood of generations. The beautiful don't survive. The useful do. The Maine Coon is a breed nobody designed. Weather drew it. Utility approved it. 100+ years ago in Maine, nobody would have shown you a pedigree with gold seals. They would have answered, short, almost rude, "She works." What does that mean? It means every inch of this animal is an engineering decision for survival. Look at the paws. These aren't just cute, fluffy feet. They're snowshoes, wide, powerful, with thick tufts of fur between the toes. Nature built them so a heavy predator wouldn't punch through deep snow while chasing prey. Look at the ears. Those famous lynx-like tips aren't decoration. They're antennas, catching the faintest scratch of a mouse under a drift. And at the same time, they shield the ear from frostbite. The coat. It's not there to feel nice under your hand. It's high-performance armor. The undercoat works like thermal base layers, while the coarse outer hair repels water. A Maine Coon can sleep through freezing rain, swim a cold river, and its skin stays dry. The tail. Not a fashion statement. A sleeping bag. Long, outrageously plush, made to wrap around the nose and paws when the temperature drops to -30. Big, strong, patient. Not a couch ornament. A tool built to outlast winter. But human nature can't leave reality alone. Legends cling to it. We hate admitting that sometimes greatness appears without an author. We want a fairy tale. The prettiest lie is a royal one. The legend says Maine Coons descend from Marie Antoinette's cats. That before her execution, the Queen tried to flee to America and managed to load her beloved long-haired Angoras onto a ship. She died under the guillotine. The cats made it to Maine. Beautiful? Insane. True? Unlikely. Another legend is rougher. Vikings. The story goes that long before Columbus, Scandinavian sailors brought Norwegian forest cats on their longships to hunt rats on deck. And here, geneticists aren't quite as dismissive. The resemblance really is suspicious. Maybe there's a grain of truth in that myth. But there's a third tale, the most toxic one. The one people still say with confidence today. They bred them with raccoons. Even the name, Maine Coon, people claim comes from raccoon. The ringed tail, the habit of dunking food in water, the strange chirps instead of meows. Funny? That's exactly why it's dangerous. Myths don't survive because they're true. They survive because they stick. But biology is as cold as a November wind. A cat and a raccoon are different species. No offspring. Impossible. That's not knowledge. That's rural folklore dressed up as fact. People kept believing the stories until facts started cutting through the legend like a blade. Back in 1889, Harrison Weir, the father of cat fancy, said it out loud. Enough with the mysticism. Look at the animal. A powerful, rectangular body. Heavy bone. A stare that doesn't beg for food. It demands partnership. and the world noticed. New York, Madison Square Garden, America's first major cat show. Gas lamps, ladies in corsets, gentlemen in top hats, a crowd, wagers, whispers. And among all that polished elite, the winner isn't some imported novelty. The best cat title goes to a Maine Coon named Cozy, a farmer's cat. Her silver collar is still kept at CFA headquarters like a relic. Cold metal, proof of the first triumph. You'd think, from there it's only up. No, the Maine Coon's story isn't a straight line. It's an EKG. And then the line breaks hard. Early 20th century, the world changes. America gets richer. And with money comes a hunger for exotic. Persians arrive from Europe, fluffy, round-faced, lazy, expensive. Show culture chooses glamour over raw strength. Yesterday, you're king of New York. Tomorrow, you're just a barn cat. People stopped seeing Maine Coons as a breed. They called them mutts. Too rugged, too plain, wrong fairy tale. By the 1950s, the breed had practically vanished from the radar. Some cat journals even printed an obituary. The Maine Coon is considered extinct. They forgot it. All that remained was one line from old-timers. Back then we had big cats. But in the quiet, the rescue began. Not a grand event, a guerrilla war. The 1950s and 60s, small groups of enthusiasts, regular people, not scientists, started rebuilding the breed. They drove to abandoned farms and back roads and tiny towns, searching for the big cats with tassels on their ears. They formed the Central Maine Cat Club. In basements and kitchens, they wrote standards. This was a fight for the breed's right to exist, a fight for a genetic code that was dissolving into nothing. 1968, a Breeders' Association is formed. Loners become an army. 1976, they break through the wall of CFA snobbery. The Maine Coon earns championship status again. The weak are forgotten. The strong get written into history. Maine officially makes them a state symbol. The barn cat takes its crown back. Why did they return? Not just because of size. People realized the Maine Coon has a dog's soul. They don't live like loners. They meet you at the door. They hold your gaze. They chirp like birds instead of screaming. A companion that makes you feel, strangely, protected. In 2025, the Maine Coon is on top of the world again. But right here, at the peak of triumph, the real threat switches on. This story doesn't have a classic happy ending. Not yet. Because the Maine Coon's biggest enemy today isn't cold, not Persians, not even oblivion. It's our love. Popularity creates demand. Demand creates hurry. And hurry, in genetics, is a death sentence. The market stopped wanting a big cat. It wanted a monster. XXL size, the longest ear tufts, a face that looks almost human, that famous wild look. Breeders started chasing extremes, forgetting why nature built this animal in the first place. We wanted them bigger, heavier, and we made them pay for it. Two acronyms hang over the breed like a blade. HCM, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. Behind those dry letters is the grief of thousands of families. HCM is a heart whose walls grow too thick. It looks enormous, powerful, but the chamber inside narrows. It pumps blood on borrowed strength. The cat looks perfectly healthy, plays, eats, lives, and then, in a single second, drops dead. A heart too big for the chest and too weak to keep beating for long. And SMA? That's when a kitten starts to wobble in the back legs. Then jumping gets hard. A cat genetically built to launch into trees suddenly can't hop onto a chair. As if inside a high-powered machine, someone is slowly shutting off the engine. DNA tests offer hope, but not a guarantee, because life is messier than a lab spreadsheet. When we breed animals for size alone, for the perfect social media photo, we narrow the gene pool. We make them fragile. That's the price that never shows up on the kitten's tag, but the animal pays it. The Maine Coon is a living monument. It survived winters so cold, trees cracked. It survived human wars. It survived ridicule from the elite. It survived being forgotten, but now it faces the most dangerous challenge in its history. It's fighting its own popularity. That popularity can break the breed's health faster than any frost. Somewhere in Maine's night silence, the hay still rustles, the ocean still hammers the rocks, and the big cat, born of wind, salt, and freedom, steps forward on soft paws. There's only one question. Will we stop in time? Stop chasing weight records? Stop molding them into caricatures? Or will our obsession with giants be the last thing they ever survive? Because nature doesn't forgive mistakes, and it keeps reminding us, perfection doesn't need improving, it only needs protecting.